Last summer, I had the unreal opportunity to fly to Dutch Harbor on a 1942 Widgeon, following my grandfather's wartime flight path to the Aleutian Islands. We arrived the 4th of June, exactly 81 years after Japan launched their second attack on the sleepy village of Unalaska, port of Dutch Harbor. Like that alone was not interesting enough, the very next day, 2 Japanese naval vessels arrived in port, but this time as friends, opening up their ships to tours and partaking in many different community activities. Although I have to admit, it was eerie seeing them in port, knowing how their aggressive action long ago forever changed the way of life for the peaceful people of the Aleutian Islands, and also the 144,000 servicemen like my grandfather who were sent up to Alaska in defense of the continent. The next few days proved to be ones for healing and fellowship. So today is June 5th, and this morning, 2 Japanese naval vessels arrived in the port of Dutch Harbor. I'm not exactly sure why they're here. I know they're doing a bunch of activities, communal, like sporting type activities. It's just interesting that they're here one day after the 81st anniversary of the bombing of Dutch Harbor. So I'm on my way to the port now to see them, take some videos, and they're giving public tours at 1 o'clock. So let's see, there's a lot of containers in front of them. Oh my gosh. Is. I definitely did not expect to be emotional, but the impact of seeing the ships, the Japanese flag, in the same port that they bombed 81 years ago plus a day, forced my grandfather and his squadron and so many others to go to war, and how that forever changed so many lives, including the lives of the people, the Unanga people who live all along the Aleutian chain. It's just heavy. "81 years ago and a day, they were here as an enemy, and I know today they arrive as friends. One of our biggest allies, and one of our biggest allies, especially with the shenanigans going on with China and Russia. Japan still has one of the largest naval fleets in the world. I mean, to see it, I think at this time of year, it's just a strange time for them to show up in port. I'm not sure why I'm so emotional. Anyways, tours I think are starting in shortly, so I thought I'll probably just hang out here and observe what's happening. And apparently there's also a U.S. naval vessel offshore, just standing by. Not that anyone would anticipate anything happening, but and the Coast Guard vessel, U.S. Coast Guard vessels actually docked right behind the 2 naval vessels. So yeah, more to come. Pretty cool though, I have to say. It's pretty darn cool, impactful, and a little bit eerie because of the date. The two Japanese Maritime Self-Defense Force vessels, JS Kashima and JS Hatakazi, were both part of Japan's training squadron. On board were 550 officers and crew members. 160 of those were newly commissioned officers. These newly trained officers would have spent about 1 year in the classroom before coming on board for the 6-month training tour. The purpose of the overseas training course is to help them develop seamanship through various trainings at sea. The tour also helps to enrich their international perspectives as they start to build friendly relationships with ports of call countries, of which there were going to be 11 on the 2023 tour. Dutch Harbor was its first stop. HS Atakazi, whose name means flag wind, was commissioned in 1986. Originally constructed as a guided missile destroyer like Kashima, this was the third Japanese naval vessel to carry the name Atakazi.
Here's my buddies. What do you think?
In 2020, the ship began showing her age, so she was converted to a training ship. But because this was originally a destroyer-class vessel, it is more weaponized than the Kashima. JS Kashima is named after the coastal region of Kashima, which is located 70 miles northeast of Tokyo. The ship was commissioned on January 26, 1995. It's actually the third Japanese naval vessel to have this name, the last one being commissioned in 1940. Because it is a training vessel, it does not have as many weapons as typical. Instead, the training vessel is more equipped with weapons simulation systems and other tools to educate its training officers. Pretty great. You want to go try to catch up with Scott and Annie. I told them just to leave me behind. They're very sweet to pay attention. You can hear an eagle, and you know, it's so interesting, the sun came out. It's been raining all morning. It's been raining all morning and the sun came out. Like, I just can't even make this stuff up. It's pretty great. I know our pilot Burke had extended the offer to take the ship captain over to Akutan. Akutan was the site of the Lieutenant Koga crash. Lieutenant Koga was flying a Zero on June 4th, 1942, when the Zero was hit by ground fire, and he had to bail out in Akutan. And he landed wheels down, not knowing that the tundra was really boggy, and his Zero flipped over, he broke his neck and died instantly. We later recovered the Zero several weeks later, shipped it back to San Diego where we rebuilt it, and from that point on we were able to figure out what made the Zero so special and how to defend against it. Sorry, I got distracted by camaraderie and laughter. Sometimes war ends in peace. Strangest thing. This is a good example. Hello again. What a healing experience. Met a few officers towards the end who spoke English. I got to tell them my story, exchange the card. Hard to think that we, or parts of us, didn't get along 81 years ago. Very healing, very cool experience. Some of them are out now playing softball right beside me. maybe hear the clinks of the bats. Some of them just got back from the World War II Visitor Center here in Dutch Harbor, and there's another group that are going next. What are they? They're doing a run up Ballyhoo later. They are doing a memorial ceremony tomorrow. They have, I think, some kind of swim meet. They're doing a band concert. So they have a lot of fun, different community things. A lot of the Coast Guard are on board talking to some of the officers or seamen, ensigns. I'm not sure what their ranks are in the Japanese Navy, but we're all just humans. It's pretty cool. So the next thing the Japanese sailors are going to do is a community run up Schwatka Road, which is the road that leads to Fort Schwatka on Ballyhoo Mountain. Fort Schwatka was a defensive station that was built in response to Japanese aggression. So, yeah, they're going to be running up this road. So I'm here a little early because I'm not running this road. It's about 1,000 feet in elevation. It's starting at sea level. Got here a little early just so I can walk up there and then catch their finish line. So it's open to the community. It'll be, another good joint exercise and practicing camaraderie and healing the past. So yeah, that's where we are. Moving our way up to Fort Schwatka. The spit is behind me. And I don't know, you probably see the naval vessels back there. No, you can't. Never mind. Can't see them. So here we go. Walk, walk, walk. Okay, almost at the top of our last zig, and one more final zag to go to get to the top of Fort Schwatka in the National Park Service World War II historic area on top of Ballyhoo Mountain. There's an old military switchback that they'll be running on. Doesn't look like they're going to go too much into the fort itself. I mean, history. Can't live in the past. You gotta make amends, move on. We're all friends, and I think it's a good exercise in camaraderie and friendship at this point. Ballyhoo sits in the middle of a body of water. On the other side of this mountain is the airport. They carved the airport out of the side of this mountain. So if you're flying in commercially, you would have had to fly in from other side of the mountain to land. And the Japanese did the same thing when they attacked Dutch Harbor. Many of them came in through here or came out through this body of water. Some of them so the Zeros came in through this valley. Oh, where is it? Over there? I don't know. I can barely see, it's foggy. Here, valley, Unalaska Valley. Low level, 6 in the morning. Scared the bejesus out of everyone. It's hard to believe, it's such a quiet town. And forever changed the landscape of the Inanga people and the Aleutian Islands. I know some people have said, well, why do you need to do that tonight? You can walk up there any day. It's kind of miserable, kind of cold. Oh. I do it for my grandfather and for every other person who served in Alaska during the war, who would not give up on protecting us. So I walk for them. I don't know why these sailors are doing this. I'm not doing it for them necessarily. And maybe I am. you know, for their ancestors also. They had to endure the same remote, rugged sense of isolation that our families did also. So it wasn't any easier. In fact, probably even more difficult for the Japanese servicemen, because ultimately they were forgotten. They were forgotten and abandoned and left to die in their own defenses, in a sense. Japanese government made the decision to stop resupplying them. We kind of helped them to that decision by blockading them, but at some point they decided, you know, that they couldn't do it anymore. So I walk for all those people on both sides, and I will be here to cheer on the Japanese sailors that come up the hill. Because again, we're all the same. We're all the same. Yeah!
Yeah, nice work. Yeah, nice job. Nice work. Here we come. Yeah, boy. Good job. Come on, Jesse. You got it. Yeah, you got it. Bye. You're welcome.
The race is over. It's probably, I don't know, maybe 40, I think 45 participants. Most of them were Japanese sailors, and then some of the other ones were Coast Guard, and there were two local kids, so that's super cool. So I'm walking down, everyone offered me rides. But, you know, part of being in Unalaska is experiencing what Unalaska is. So I wanted to walk down and absorb the day, observe the incredibleness that is Unalaska and Dutch Harbor. I don't know if you can see, but I'm in a cloud, which is kind of cool. Yeah, I'm in a cloud. So, just taking my time down. There, see the cloud behind me? It's coming this way. Unalaska, you are gorgeous. Gorgeous.
The dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the peril.
At this time, I would like to introduce Admiral Nathan Moore from 17th District in Juneau. Welcome to Unalaska, Dutch Harbor.
Yeah, these exercises with the JMSDF and the communities of Unalaska are valuable opportunities to demonstrate our unity to counter threats in this region. I'm so very excited to see engagements like these with the two crews standing shoulder to shoulder as allies together to further increase our interoperability and our ability to operate here in the high latitudes of what is District 17, what is Alaska.
Which we have been performing every year since 1958. And it is a great pleasure to be in Dutch Harbor for our first port of call for this
I would like to say thank you to the community, to the people who have made this possible. The United States Coast Guard has a great history here in Unalaska, Dutch Harbor, going back many years. And we, as a community, we want to recognize that the United States Coast Guard and the Naval Academy for your help and for your dedication and service to keep our water safe. Appreciate that a lot. Thank you very much.
I think I'll end this video with Unalaska's version of the seagull, known elsewhere as the bald eagle. This juvenile eagle who now has the watch over these waters is at the moment perhaps symbolic of the young men who were once at war in this tranquil area. These Japanese seamen looked so young when in fact they were the same age as my grandfather 80 years ago, and maybe yours too. What we ask of these young men and continue to ask of our service members is remarkable. So if you know a service member, hug them tight and thank them for their service to country. If you're looking to see a more formal tour of the ships, then you can check out a channel called Go Bold. He was in Victoria, British Columbia when the vessels arrived in port and they gave him a guided tour. It was really interesting. I'll leave the link in the description. More eagles to come next week. See you then.